In this video, we are going to explain how to report contract manufacturing services on the BE-120 survey. We will explain what contract manufacturing services are and how contract manufacturing services transactions with foreign persons should be reported. Contract manufacturing services cover the processing, assembly, labeling, packaging, and so forth of materials and physical components owned by others. The manufacturing is conducted by a manufacturing service provider who does not own the goods. The manufacturing service provider is paid a fee by the owner of the goods to provide the service. And ownership of the goods used does not transfer to the contract manufacturing service provider. Include services performed by the consolidated domestic U.S. reporter for foreign persons who own both the inputs and outcomes of the production process. This should be reported as sales. Also include services purchased from foreign persons where the U.S. reporter owns both the inputs and outcomes of the production process. This should be reported as purchases. These services may be performed for or purchased from a foreign affiliate of the U.S. reporter, a member of the U.S. reporter's foreign parent group, or an unaffiliated foreign person. See page 12 of the 2017 BE-120 survey form for additional details about important reporting relationships. Companies manufacturing products for themselves should not report these activities as contract manufacturing services if they own the inputs and outputs used in the production process. Companies should also not report the value of the finished good as the contract manufacturing service. They should only report the cost of the contract manufacturing service sold or purchased. The BE-120 survey collects data for contract manufacturing services for the transactions where you are either the seller or purchaser of these services. The specific items that you are required to complete for these activities will differ slightly depending on which side of the transaction you are on. The items of particular note for those that sell and/or purchase contract manufacturing services are Table 2 on page 7, for sellers of contract manufacturing services, questions 8, 9, 10, and Schedule A, and for purchasers of contract manufacturing services, questions 11, 12, 13, and Schedule B. Please note, Schedule A and B are required of those reporters that meet specific transaction threshold reporting requirements. Those respondents meeting one or both of the combined reporting thresholds, combined sales across all services categories that exceed $2 million, and/or combined purchases that exceed $1 million during fiscal year 2017 are also required to disaggregate their totals by country and by relationship to the foreign transactor on Schedule A for sales and Schedule B for purchases. Examples of contract manufacturing services include oil refining, liquefaction of natural gas, assembly of clothing, electronics, and other goods, and labeling and packaging. Let's look at an example. A U.S. petroleum refining company receives crude oil from a Canadian company that is a member of its foreign parent group. That U.S. company then refines the crude into heating oil and sends the finished product back to the Canadian company. The U.S. company did not take ownership of the crude oil and sent back finished product to the Canadian company. The U.S. company has provided contract manufacturing services to the Canadian company and must report the fee charged for those services on the 2017 BE-120 survey. For this example, let's assume the U.S. reporter charged the Canadian company $3 million for the provision of these services. Since the U.S. reporter provides contract manufacturing services to one or more non-U.S. countries, this will be reflected as sales of contract manufacturing services. In Table 2, located on page 7 of the BE 120 survey, for transaction code 35, provide your total sales of contract manufacturing services with non-U.S. countries in column 3. In addition to the sales to Canada, totaling $3 million, this U.S. reporter had additional sales of $1.5 million during its fiscal year 2017 for a total of $4.5 million. Amounts should be reported in thousands of US dollars, so $4.5 million should be reported as 4500. For now, let's continue on to question number 8, which asks if the U.S. reporter will be reporting sales of contract manufacturing services on Schedule A of the survey. In this example, the U.S. reporter should mark yes, since they exceeded the $2 million combined reporting threshold for Schedule A. After answering yes to question 8, you will need to report additional details about these transactions in questions 9 and 10 on page 9. Provide a description of the manufactured goods that result from the arrangements and details about the material inputs used. For question 9, provide a description of the primary manufactured good that you produce under a contract manufacturing service arrangement. This can be accomplished by identifying the Harmonized System 6-digit commodity code, which can be found using the ITC search tool at the link referenced above question 9, or by providing a brief description in the space provided. For this example, the finished product is heating oil, and that description has been entered into item 9. For question 10, you would provide information about the materials that are provided to you by the Canadian company under your contract manufacturing services agreement. In this instance, the U.S. reporter received crude oil. And again, you can complete this item similarly to item number 9 by either identifying the Harmonized System 6-digit commodity code, which can be found using the ITC search tool at the link referenced above question 9, or by providing a brief description in the space provided. Sales of contract manufacturing services should then be reported by country and affiliation with the foreign purchaser on Schedule A of the survey. To do so, first enter the transaction code for contract manufacturing services in the field indicated at the top of the schedule. Code 35, as shown in column 1 of Table 2 on page 7. In column 1 of the schedule, enter the country which the services were sold to. For this example, the U.S. reporter has a facility that provides manufacturing, packaging, and assembly services to a Canadian company, and it would enter Canada in column 1. Identify the U.S. reporter's relationship with the foreign purchaser in columns 3 through 5. In this case, the Canadian transaction was with the member of the U.S. reporter's foreign parent group, which corresponds with column 4. Columns 3 and 5 correspond with transactions with the U.S. reporter's foreign affiliates or unaffiliated foreign persons. For more information on reporting relationships, see page 12 of the report. In addition to sales of $3 million to a member of its foreign parent group in Canada, let's say the U.S. reporter had $1.5 million in sales to Japan during its 2017 fiscal year. Those sales would be reported in the same manner on the next line of the schedule. Amounts should be reported in thousands of US dollars, round amounts of less than $500 to 0. There are times when a U.S. entity will purchase contract manufacturing services. For example, a U.S. clothing company may purchase raw materials such as yarn, fabrics, and dyes from China. The U.S. company then sends those raw materials to a maquiladora in Mexico for further processing. The maquiladora then processes those materials into t-shirts and blouses, packages them, and sends them to the U.S. company as finished goods. The maquiladora does not take ownership of those raw materials, nor does it take ownership of the clothing it produced. Instead, it charges a service fee of $5 million to the U.S. company for the clothing it produces. In this example, that service fee would be reported as a purchase of contract manufacturing services from Mexico by the U.S. reporter on the 2017 BE 120 survey. Please note that neither the origin country of the manufacturing inputs, in this example China, nor the destination country of the manufacturing outputs, the U.S. in this case, are relevant to the survey. Only the location of the service provider, Mexico in this instance, should be considered when reporting. Reporting the purchase of contract manufacturing services is very similar to reporting for sales. In Table 2, for Transaction Code 35, enter the total purchases of contract manufacturing services with non-U.S. countries in Column 4. In this instance, the amount is $5 million and is expressed in thousands of U.S. dollars. After completing questions 6 through 10 on pages 8 and 9, the U.S. reporter in this example should mark yes to question 11 on page 10, indicating that they will be reporting purchases of contract manufacturing services on Schedule B of the survey since they exceeded the $1 million combined reporting threshold for Schedule B. In questions 12 and 13, you will report additional detail about the manufactured goods that resulted from the arrangements and the material inputs used. For question number 12, provide a description of the primary manufactured good that you purchased under a manufacturing service arrangement. This can be accomplished by identifying the Harmonized System 6-digit commodity code, which can be found using the ITC search tool at the link referenced above question 12, or by providing a brief description in the space provided. In this example, the final product is clothing, and it is entered in item 12. For question 13, provide information about the materials that you provide to the Mexican operation under your contract manufacturing agreement. And again, you can complete this item similarly to item 12 by either identifying the Harmonized System 6-digit commodity code, which can be found using the ITC search tool at the link referenced above question 12, or by providing a brief description in the space provided. In this case, the materials you provided are yarn, fabrics, and dyes, and they are entered into question 13. Reporting purchases of contract manufacturing services on the Schedule B is similar to reporting sales on Schedule A. First, enter 35 as the transaction code at the top of the page. Next, enter the country of the seller in column 1. In this example, the U.S. reporter purchased services from Mexico. For each country reported, identify the U.S. reporter's relationship with the foreign transactor in columns 3 through 5. In this example, the maquiladora is an unaffiliated foreign entity, so the purchase of contract manufacturing services will be entered into column 5. As with Schedule A, these amounts should be reported in thousands of U.S. dollars. If you have any questions about completing the BE 120 survey, you may contact us at 301-278-9303 or email us at be120help@pea.gov. For additional information on the BE 120 survey, such as answers to frequently asked questions or blank survey forms, please go to www.bea.gov/BE120. To file using our eFile system, visit www.bea.gov/efile. This concludes our video on contract manufacturing.